Hello and welcome to the Idaho Renaissance Fair Inc. YouTube page. We're back with our wonderful Janet. And Janet,
Hello?
what are we doing today?
Oh, I don't know. Would you like to hear about a war caused by assassinations, intrigue, political machinations, and tax evasion?
Are we talking Game of Thrones?
No. No, we're talking Italy, 1494. We're talking real Game of Thrones.
So this legit happened.
Yes.
1494. Ooh, this is exciting. Last time you did a teaser for the Italian Wars. Is this leading into the Italian Wars?
Yes, it is. So, um, the Italian Wars themselves, big long time period actually. But we call this the First Italian War. Starts in 1494, which, as you know, is the time setting for our fair.
I'm gonna assume after the fair.
Well, I mean, technically, no, not really, but it's almost that entire year. It's almost that whole a whole year. It goes into 1495 and on. It actually goes into the 15. The Italian Wars themselves actually go all the way into the 1500s.
So then let's start with the beginning. What caused the Italian Wars?
Okay, well, people. No.
Right? They usually are.
Usually are. There's several things that happen that cause this war, but let's first kind of take a look at the lay of the land um, when this is all starting to go down. So, one side of we'll start with the aggressors, right? The bad guys to our fair's position. I don't think either one was necessarily the bad guys in reality, but in Idaho Renaissance Ren Fair land, as Queen Ippolita, we'll start with our enemies, and we have up north Italy. We have the Duchy of Milan, which is where Ippolita's from. Her brother Ludovico, he's up there, and he is actually acting as regent. And he's acting as regent for a name you are going to be familiar with, Gian.
Aha. So Gian is not dead yet.
No, not at this point. Gian Galeazzo is actually alive. He and his wife Isabella are alive, and they're up there doing their thing. And what happens, the reason now, usually when you hear a regent, it's because the ruler is super young or very ill. Gian actually technically becomes the Duke of Milan at age 7, so he does need a regent
Oh yeah,
to
that's
help him
way too
out.
young.
Very young, very young, and it's not uncommon.
Well, his
It's
dad
happened.
was very war-minded. That's how the Sforzas came
Mhm.
into power, was because of military conquest.
Absolutely. So you've got, yeah, live hard, die young, right? So you've got young Gian, who is Ludovico's nephew. He ends up marrying Isabella, who is Ippolita's daughter. So you are related to me and my son-in-law. So very excellent. Thanksgiving, Christmas dinners are primo. So he's up there hanging out, doing his thing, being the regent. He Gian and Isabella end up going to Palavia. And Gian is very content to hang out at their little palace in this other city and just let Ludovico do the ruling. He is perfectly content. He's like, I don't want to play politics. I don't want to do this. Ludovico's got it. He's had it. Let's just let him continue. Isabella, on the other hand, very much is her mother's daughter. and is like, no, this is our responsibility. We need to do the things that we're supposed to do. Our children need to know how to do this because they will grow up to rule. What are you doing, basically? She was very frustrated with him, very annoyed with him.
Well, from what I did in my study when I played the character Gian, he was a lot introverted. He was a little bit on the depressed, weepy, whiny side of things. Not exactly his father's son.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and which makes you wonder what there clearly something happened, or and of course we'll never know. We'll never know because they don't really document. You know, he had a terrible accident and was really depressed. You know, as whatever. But he very much opposites in this marriage for Isabella and Gian. Ludovico married Beatrice d'Estes, and she was also ambitious. So Ludovico's content to be the ruler. He's a Sforza, after all. That's
Right.
what we were made to do. Unfortunately, and this is jumping ahead a little bit in the timeline, but October of 1494, Gian dies mysteriously.
Right. This is the we think assassination, but there is zero proof.
But yes, pretty much everybody agrees that he was assassinated. And of course, most people immediately point to Ludovico. But what I found in my research is that Ludovico actually spent a lot of time gaining, maintaining, currying favor with Gian and working with him and trying to keep him in the loop and like keeping his approval. So for somebody who worked that hard to keep somebody's approval, to then assassinate him, not necessarily that likely. But people are now thinking it wasn't Ludovico, it was Beatrice.
Because of her ambitions.
Her ambitions. She very much felt that, you know, she had a right to that duchy.
Aha.
So, it's not always the men.
Well, and we talked about that last time when we were talking about the artists. At the time, there was a very big proponent of women's rights. And it sounds like Beatrice may have been very much so in that same camp.
Yes. And I think, which is a shame because, you know, circumstances different. She and Isabella might have been best friends.
Right, because they're actually pretty close to the same age, aren't they?
They are. They were. And they're both intelligent, both outspoken, both very much the same, very much wanting the same things. They're just, unfortunately, on the opposite ends of things. So then we have the Duchy of Ferrara, who is led by Duke Ercole. And that is where Beatrice is from. They were somewhat involved on the side of the French, the enemy camp, if you will, although they said they were neutral. But historians do count them on the side of the aggressors. And then last but not least, we have the Kingdom of France, which is Charles VIII, and he was called Charles the Affable, which is an interesting name for someone who's starting a war. On our side, we have the League of Venice. We have the Kingdom of Naples, which is ruled by none other than my dearest husband, Alfonso II. He just succeeded his father as King of Naples. And I mean, when this all goes down, literally just like, you know, it's like in the morning, hi, you're king. In the afternoon, oh, by the way, the French are coming.
Oh my word. What a way to celebrate your new kingship.
Your newly minted king. Granted, he was prepared. Alfonso was a military genius. He was an excellent tactician. He knew his stuff. He won battles. He was decorated. So it wasn't, at least it wasn't something terrible where he's in big trouble. He doesn't know what to do. He's been coddled all his life. He served. He knew what to do. He raised his children, and at this point, he's got adult children. He and Ippolita, obviously, because Ippolita's daughter's off marrying Gian and having she already has children of her own. So at this point in time, he is. I mean, it's not like he's a fresh-faced 21-year-old.
So
He's older.
so by the time he becomes king, he's like in his 40s or his 50s.
In his 40s, in his 40s to 50s, and he got there late. He got the throne late. And technically Ippolita's dead. She's been dead since 1488. Obviously we take some creative liberties at our fair, but Ippolita has passed on, and it's Alfonso.
Gosh, it's just so weird. I mean, but you think about it, King Charles, who just took over for Queen Elizabeth in our modern day, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he's not exactly a spring chicken either. So maybe this is
No.
more common than we like to think, because we always think when a new king takes over, at least I do, that he's this young, fresh from the war, 20 something year old, maybe even a late teenager. But it
Right, and he's
sounds
ready to
like,
go, and it happens later. And it's interesting because of course we think the middle ages, the renaissance, that whole time period, they were like, man, they only lived till they were like 25 older. But we also think of them dying young, which wasn't as, at this point people were living longer, so we're starting to go on the uptick.
very interesting. Okay,
So
so Beatrice is the suspected assassin. We don't know, obviously.
we don't know.
And it was a power move? Like maybe?
It was potentially a power move, yes. Yes.
So how does little Gian dying bring in the King of France? Why would the King of France or the Emperor of France?
Well, it's not Giondai that actually causes France to get in. It, it actually happens before that. Gian actually does not die until this thing has been going on for almost a year. So we've got Naples, we have Venice, the kingdoms of Spain, because of course, kingdoms of Spain are Aragorn and Trastamara, which Alfonso is Aragorn and Trastamara, the houses of Trastamara. England ends up getting pulled in, which I said it last time. Who has a new royal house up there? The
The
Tudors. It's their
Tudors.
first, which of course that what they say, if the best thing to do for a new thing to solidify your power is go start a war. There's some Margraves. There's some, and even the Holy Roman Empire gets pulled into this thing. So
Wow. So it literally
how
like
did
took over Europe.
how did this start? 1489 it starts. The ball starts rolling with Pope Innocent. Okay. And King Ferdinand, Alfonso's father, they get in a fight.
Who fights a
Because,
pope?
well, I mean, when you don't pay your feudal dues, i.e., your aka your taxes, um, the Pope tends to get kind of cranky at you.
Oh, so it's not the pope that was paying taxes, it's
So Alfonso's father Ferdinand had not paid his feudal dues to the Holy Roman Empire, to the Pope, and so, well, what does the Pope do? The Pope looks at him and says, "All right, fine, you're not going to pay me. Uh, Guess what? You're now excommunicated from the Catholic Church, and I depose you as king of Naples. And I think I'm going to put Charles of France
As King of
as king of,
Naples?
yes, he gave it to the king of Naples. So that
What?
happened in October 1489. And so of course, here's the Pope sending a message to Charles, King Charles, and says, "Hey, guess what? Merry Christmas. I got you Naples."
Without getting rid of the King Ferdinand of Naples.
Right. Like, you would think that maybe he'd have him killed or something, but he just said, "You have to go now. Go to your room. I'm replacing you. You get out of here. I am replacing you." So
Ah.
Charles, of course, is like, "Sweet. This is great." I
Now, hold up. Does the Pope, like, I know that he's a powerful man and he had a lot of political power, especially at the time, especially around that area, but did he really legally have the power to just say, you're no longer king?
That's from what I understand, that's somewhat debated, but most people agree that he had the power to do so, which I find
Wow.
very interesting. It's almost as if really what he's saying is that all your lands belong to the Holy Roman Empire, and I at any point in time can come in and say, "I'm taking this back. You've had your fun. Now, we're done. Give me my lands back, and I'm putting somebody else that I find more favorable
Wow, now
in your place."
that's a power move.
That is a power. Like, that's a lot of power. So that's 1489, end of the year. Eventually in 1492, Pope Innocent and the king make up. King Ferdinand make up. And he rescinds the excommunication from the church and says, all right, you're king of Naples again. We're buddies. We're okay now. I'm sure what happened is that, money was paid, and, the arrears were taken care of, and nobody really okayed it with King Charles.
Who is now thinking he's king of Naples.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that kind of caused a rift between Naples and France, really, almost unfairly. The Pope put them in this position. Well, I mean, Ferdinand put himself in the position by not paying his dues, but here we have two men who really didn't need to fight or really have any animosity, or like, so for a while it was just kind of this, I don't like you, you don't like me, we don't get along, but no overt aggression. But the straw that really tipped it was Beatrice and Isabella fighting. That is what really knocked it out of the park. Milan was the second richest state in Italy at the time. Absolutely, their coffers were full. And again, like we said last time, it's one of the centers of the Renaissance world as far as art and culture. So Beatrice wants control, which, makes sense. I can understand where it would be very frustrating to be the ruler in the stead of somebody else and not really get any of the benefits. She and Ludovico are doing all the work, but they have no. It's the classic worker now situation. Well, that's great. I just made this presentation, but my boss just stole it and put his name on it. It's kind of the same thing. They're doing all the work and they're doing all the things, but they don't have the titles and the recognition that really go with it. And I could imagine, as an outsider looking in, looking at John, who just, it's not his thing. And that's not a knock on him at all, of course, by the way. It's not something that he was super interested in, and that's cool. That's all right. But Isabella was. So that would have been an interesting conversation to be part of, because it talks about her begging him, please just do your job. Over and over again, fighting with them on it. What's 1493-ish? Isabella gives birth, or no, Beatrice gives birth to her eldest son, Hercules Maximilian. And rumors start running around, who knows where they started, maybe she started them, that Ludovico was going to name his son Duke of Pavia, which is a title that would only should have gone to Isabella's oldest son, Francesco. So these rumors start swirling. These two ladies are fighting for control. And of course, as mothers do, they're now fighting for their son's future. Isabella goes down to her father, Alfonso, and says, hey, I need your help up here. This is what's going on. And Alfonso was ready to go in, guns blazing, axes swinging, cannons roaring, and he is talked down by King Ferrante, Beatrice's father.
No way.
He's like, no, yeah, no. He's like, no, calm down. You have to, no, we can't. You guys can settle this civilly. Please don't go punch anybody. Please don't start a war. July of 1494, King Charles of France shows up in Milan.
With an army or just like his entourage?
With an army. He shows up, and Ludovico and Beatrice welcome him with open arms. He brought 30,000 troops.
Good night.
Including, yeah, that's and an additional 8,000 Swiss mercenaries.
So 38,000 people, just fighting men. That's not including the support. That's not including any of the blacksmithing and any of the, support needed. So he's got an entire city going with him to Milan.
Absolutely. And can you imagine, first of all, seeing that coming from France into Milan, through the countryside, through the, some of these peasant, as they're traveling through, I can only imagine what those peasants are thinking. It would have been terrifying.
Oh, absolutely
terrifying.
Well, and you're going to see the sign for miles. I mean, that's going to put up a huge dirt trail behind them. Like, people would have seen them, for miles and miles.
Oh, yeah. Just marching, not to mention the horses. Chances are they would have had some livestock with them, because depending on what their provisions look like, army sometimes marched livestock along with them to feed. They can't just throw it in the refrigerated truck. They've got, fairly new to the realm artillery. So this is crazy stuff. But they get to Milan, and Beatrice and Ludovico are like, come on in. Come on, let's have a party. They get them there. They get ready to have a party. They're going to prepare this amazing feast for the King of France, and he's unable to attend. They thought he had smallpox, but it turns out he had an illness of a more personal nature. But he was unable to attend this lavish feast that the Sforzas had prepared for him, which is a shame, because I, for one, never want to miss a feast.
Yeah, especially if it's not in your honor. Now, a point of clarification. Why did Charles go there at all? Like, I know he thought he was King of Naples. Is that the whole purpose of marching down that way? Is to claim Naples?
Yes.
No way.
And Ludovico and them were like, yeah, come on. We can help you. We can help you.
That's a jerk move. So, hold on. So, it's 1494.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, is Gian still alive?
until October. Yes. So 1494, when Charles
So
shows up in Milan,
yeah.
Gian is still alive. Yes.
Oh my word. Can you imagine the apprehension of that? Because I mean, he's the leader. So you have Isabella who's going, "You should be more in charge." And all of a sudden here comes the Emperor of France. He's now staying with the regent
Mm-hmm.
and you had no idea.
That would be terrifying. It would be nerve-wracking.
Especially for
And
Isabella because she was the one trying to push to gain the control back again where Beatrice is going score.
yeah, absolutely. So do you want me to spoil some of the next week's? Because it ties in and it's very, very interesting, and it kind of ties into what I was teasing about Gian being poisoned.
No, we better be good. We better hold on to it because I mean,
All
this
right, all right, all
is
right, all right. Fine.
fascinating. There is just so much going on, and I mean, no wonder they made a television series of it. I mean, it's fantastic, and the worst part is it's real. Like all of this legit happened. It's like you guys should be
All
family. You should be happy go lucky together, and you're stabbing each other in the eyes.
and here they are fighting and marrying cousins and plotting each other's demise. I really feel like it's a very sports thing because, as you know, like I said, 1488 Ippolita has passed away,
At a
and
young age. She was
she was
not
fairly young.
old.
She was old enough to have grown children,
Right, but
but she
40s.
wasn't. Yeah, she was in her 40s, and they say it was a malady of
A malady.
whatever. Thank you. Thank you. Why did my brain just add extra? My brain added extra letters there. Um, of her brain. But the chances are she was probably poisoned either by Alfonso or by his mistress. So
uh,
it is very Sforza thing to get poisoned and AKA die young,
but
mysteriously, suddenly.
if it was Alfonso, though, why wouldn't he have married his mistress? Kind of makes you. I mean,
Uh-huh.
that's how I look at it. Like, if he had taken out his own wife, then after the appropriate grieving time, why wouldn't he have just married the mistress? Which now leads me to think, well, it has to be the mistress because
Oh, and
she
she
didn't gain anything from it. She never became queen again. Like Alfonso never took another queen, right?
I don't think he did. So it's a good point. That's a really good point. That doesn't mean that he didn't decide that she needed to go. I'm
That's
sure
valid.
I have a feeling that Ippolita might have been a lot. Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way, but she was probably very independent, very outspoken. So she would have been a lot.
Gotcha. Okay. Man, yeah, it's oh my goodness. This is just a lot. But thank you so much for preparing all of this.
You
So
are welcome.
we're going to be talking about the actual war next time.
Yes, we'll get into the battles. I won't go through, don't worry, I won't go through, and then they went to here. But I've pulled out kind of the general line and some of the interesting things that happened there. And, or, which this is my fair warning that, of course, if people are not okay with this, the talk of war, the next and things that happen to those people, it the next one probably is one to skip. I'm not going to be gross or blatant, but if people are bothered by the implication, then I would skip the next one.
There's a good way to present it, and I personally think you're doing great. And if anyone has any comments or questions about anything that happened here particularly, do let us know. We do not mind coming back and hitting it again, or we can answer in the comments. Of course, remember too, we're not professional historians. This is an act of love. So if some of the details are not 100% accurate, it is okay to correct us. We do not mind. This is all based off of our own personal study, and Janet, thank you so very, very much for everything that you have done for us. We really, really appreciate it. So definitely in the comments, thank Janet for her efforts, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. When we come back and finish the wars tactfully.
We're going to go on a little adventure through Italy.
Yep, 100%.
And my dog and Sherman, the history dog, would like to say hello.
Hello, Sherman. Well, this has been the Idaho Renaissance Fair, Inc. We hope your history is as fun as our history, and we will catch you all on the next one. Huzzah!